beautiful people. This is Michelle Farley of MichelleFarleyWrites.com, and this is Copy Magnet TV. Each week I bring to you tips, tricks, and hacks all about the art of copywriting and how you can start, grow, and sustain your copywriting business. Today we're talking about business and weddings. What? You ready to get started? Let's go. So as you can see from the title, I want to talk about how planning my wedding actually helped me learn how to start my copywriting business, all right? So before we get started, I'm going to do a brief little story time of how we met. Well, no, take that back. I'm not going to do that. But I will fast forward to the day he proposed to me, and that was February 11th of 2012. It was the most romantic getaway and proposal and all the other good stuff. I'm not going to get into that, maybe in a later video. It was pretty awesome. I mean, it was sort of awesome, and then I found out Whitney Houston died, and then, about an hour or two I was crying, but then I was right back to the happiness part, So it was awesome, right? So after all the fanfare and telling our friends and telling our family, it was really amazing. And then it was coming down to planning the wedding, and that's when the stress happened, all right? But using these tips and tools that I learned from planning our wedding, which was under $6,000, I might add, so I'm gonna kind of piece this all together for you. We had an awesome ceremony. We had an amazing honeymoon and debt-free, and I'm gonna share all that with you right now, all right? So, my husband and I have, like most of you who are engaged or who are married, we looked at different venues, and those prices range from anywhere in the low end of like $18,000 all the way to like $48,000 for one day. One day. Couldn't do it, y'all. I couldn't do it. It's too much. Nope. Couldn't do it. And my husband's more frugal than I was, or I am, and he was willing to do it because it was like, he wanted to, give me the world and whatever I wanted. And I was like, I don't want this. I don't want this debt. I don't want it. And so, he said something like, well, babe, as long as I marry you, I can marry you downtown. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. And so I was like, you know what? I think you're right. I think you're right. And that is what we did. So we went downtown, and we got our wedding license, which was like $25. And then we went down the hall to make an appointment to get scheduled to get married. And I think that was like the following month. It was like the next opening, and it was like $50, like no lie, $50. So $75 total to stay forever, all right? So that was like the easy part of doing that. The biggest thing for us, our priority was that we wanted to go somewhere special, we wanted to have a great time, and we wanted to pay everything in cash with no extraness, right? So now we have our wedding date, June 21st. We got married June 21st of 2012, right? So this is like May. So we're trying to figure out like, okay, what are we gonna do for our actual wedding day? Where are we gonna go? And how can we do all of this in a month, all right? So I'm gonna definitely tie in how all of this helped me start my business. You gotta stick along and you gotta stay with me, but here we go. All right. Okay, so now that we had the wedding date, we knew the time we were getting married and we knew the wedding date. We came home and began to write a list of the things we wanted for our ceremony, the things we wanted for our honeymoon, and we began to talk about the resources that we already had, right? So the first thing was, do we know any photographers in Columbus and who were available that day? And that was the issue because it was wedding season, so a lot of people were booked. I might add that we also got married on a weekday. We got married like on a Thursday morning, okay? So fortunately, I found a photography student who had the availability to take her photos, and it was a very reasonable price, and she was super, super cool. Our biggest thing wasn't necessarily the ceremony, because even after our ceremony, I think we went to get lunch at like this jazz restaurant situation, which was really awesome, and then we kind of came home. Like, we were back home by 2. So for us, it was really like we wanted to really have a really great experience on our honeymoon and be there for like, 5 to 7 days. So that was what we focused on. So when we sat down, pen to paper, we talked about who do we know and what are the resources. So the first thing we decided was, I think at the time, my husband either didn't have a passport or it expired. So we had to stay within the United States or the U.S. territory. So we settled on St. Thomas, Virgin Islands, which was so beautiful. It was amazing, right? And then we looked at the different resorts. So I'm like, who do I know that's connected to some of these resorts? I came up with some names. I sent them an email and said, hey, we're getting married. We'll like to, spend our honeymoon here, and the dates are flexible. And so I got a really dear friend of mine who's actually like my sister was like, hey, I think I can hook you up, but some of the things you wanted, you can't get. Like I wanted a balcony and I wanted like an ocean view, but she was like, hey, if you take off the balcony and the ocean view, instead of 5 days, I can get you there for 7 days. And I said, that's fine with me. So we actually, with like discounts and like, some hookups, we were there for 6 days, 5 nights, and we paid $600. No lie, $600. So the point is, you need to figure out who you know and what resources they have to be able to have those things. And I'll just add, my prayer was when we go that we will receive favor in every place that we went in the resort. That was just my thing. I was like, we're gonna get favor. 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 From our flights to complimentary drinks on our flight to getting at the hotel and something that actually happened to our room, that we ended up getting an upgrade. So your girl still got her ocean view and her balcony. Come on now, $600. What? That's what happened with the room. Now let's go back to before we get married, before we do all this stuff. My husband is like, hey, I think I actually know a photographer from college who lived in the Virgin Islands, but on a different island. I believe they were in St. Croix. And so he reached out and she said, oh my goodness, I would love to take your pictures as a wedding gift. All you have to do is just fly me from St. Croix to St. Thomas on these like weird like airplane rubber boats things that land on water. It's the craziest thing. Anyway, and so we legit had our wedding photos, and I'm going to insert them here, were absolutely amazing. She did them for free. We legit just paid for her to come over from St. Croix to St. Thomas and buy her lunch, and she just hung out at the pool with us afterwards. And yeah, just amazing. So I think all in all, probably was like lunch and like the flight over was like $100. Our flights were our most expensive thing, and we really didn't get a hookup for that. I mean, we just kind of compared each price, and we went with Expedia, and it was last minute because, like I said, like we planned in May, and then we left the end of June, so those were about $2,100 I did have 2 wedding dresses. One came from White House Black Market and the other one came from Banana Republic, and they both were on the sales rack. My husband's suit came from so I had 2 dresses, one that I wore to the courthouse, which I got from White House Black Market, and it was on the clearance rack, so I think I paid maybe like $60, and the other one came from Banana Republic, which was also on the clearance rack, and I paid maybe like $40 for that one, for mine. And my husband got his suit from, so he wore 2 suits. The one he wore in our pictures for our honeymoon came from Macy's, and I think that was like under, maybe it was like in the 200 range, but he was wearing that, you can always wear a suit. And then the suit he got married in was just a regular suit that he already had, so that was free. And that was it. The most expensive thing was our flights. I got married for less than $6,000. And part of that $6,000 was the spending money that we had. So when we left, we took about $1,500 with us that we didn't even use, because you really don't need to spend a lot of money. And because I had already talked about this earlier in the video, where I just believe that we're going to get favors. When I tell you that everyone was buying us drinks. The hotel. Now, even if we did not get married at this resort, we didn't have anything at this resort. They just saw us taking photos, and the gentleman asked what room we were in, and they kept sending free bottles of champagne and fruit. It was amazing. It was amazing. Okay, let's tie that into business and how I got started in copywriting. So I went back to my resources of who I knew, and I put them into bumps of categories. So these were like previous colleagues, these were friends, and these were networks of people that I've met in different spaces. And we just kept in contact, and so I wasn't quite sure if they could help me, but I felt like if I put this feeler out, that they may pass that along to their networks, and that is exactly what happened. So I did two things. One, I wrote a letter, and I expressed how this was our new business venture, and that I had always had a passion for writing. So my friends already knew this, and most of my close network already knew this as well. And some of the people that were like business associates, they kind of knew that too. But now knowing that, hey, she's serious about this and she's doing this on a more regular basis, you know, this is a person that I would recommend, yada, yada, yada. So I sent them all a letter, and I'm going to share that with you in the link below. I shared with them a letter of what it is that I do and how they could help me, right? It wasn't a hard sell. I didn't have to keep selling my skill sets or any of this other stuff or asking them to send it to all of their networks. It was basically sharing from my heart what I had a passion to do, a vision that I had to do, and if they felt the need or felt like this is something that they, you know, believed in and wanted to help me with, they would pass it on to their networks when someone maybe brought up the fact that they needed a writer. And like I said, I'm going to share that in the link. And it worked. I got a lot of calls from that, and people who were really excited about my new business venture. The second thing I did was I had a number in my head of how many contacts I wanted to make and how much I wanted to make per month, right? Now, based on that number, I had to think about what industries would pay that amount, right? So certain things you're not going to get return on investment like that, but certain industries, they are always in need of content. They're always in need of something to be written, and so they are willing to pay more because they want to be on top of things. So that was doing the research of finding those people. The third thing that I did was, again, using my own networks, was that I put a 4-sentence, maybe a couple more, maybe less than a paragraph on my social media platforms, just explaining how I was looking to expand my portfolio and that I was willing to write someone's content for a discounted price for a certain amount of time in order to increase my portfolio. And all of that spiraled from beginning to write the vision for how we wanted to plan our wedding, was the same kind of techniques and tools I use to write the vision for my business. I feel like this video was all over the place, but I really feel like there needs to be some takeaways. So my 2 takeaways for you are: number 1, write down your list of resources. Who do you know? What kind of relationships do you have with them? And how can they help you in the future? Number 2, do not be afraid to use social media to ask for what you need and what you want. Take a look at the descriptions below. I'm going to put a link to the letter that I wrote to my networks almost 10 years ago, right? So some of the stuff may not apply to you, but use it as a template. I'm going to say that again. Use it as a template. Do not do it word for word, right? You have to speak to your audience from your heart. All right. And that's it. So I hope you found this video helpful. If so, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting on? You know I need 100 subscribers by the end of the week. And be sure to hit the notification bell so you know when new videos drop. Again, this is Michelle Farley. This is Copy Magnet TV. Until the next time we meet, I wish you peace and blessings. Bye.